You deserve reward. Here is your cat back, good as new. Cat's back for everyone.
I had a dog.
He's cat now. He's cat now.
I had a dog.
He's cat now. I am Mugash. Pink flower is full of snakes. You fool! They kill you! Pink flower is full of snakes. Snakes! Bravo, little girl! Cat's back for everyone! He's cat now!
I had a dog.
He's cat now! Cat's back for everyone! He's cat now! He's cat now!
I had a dog.
He's cat now!
Hey everybody, Owen here from Gaming with the Cooler. We are back again on another Sunday night to do another live stream show. Painting Tyranids this time, rather than the Imperial Guard, seeing as we painted all of the Imperial Guard, or at least the 1500 points I set out to paint, last weekend. So, we're going to be painting. Get out of here, random zoanthrope. By popular vote, we've got a paint scheme. Oh, I should have gotten an image of this ready. 1 second here. Let me see if I can open that picture up. I have so many programs open. This one. Yes, this one was the one that won. Add a media file. This guy. That was the winning paint scheme. Red body with bone chitin. I like it. I kind of had a feeling it would win just because it was the first one in the list. If you've ever done a straw poll or just like randomly ask people's opinions, usually the top ones end up winning out. And it's not quite exactly how I had listed them, but it was pretty close for a good while there. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, so we're here. We're going to be painting. Not going to look like that, obviously. I don't paint to a super high standard. It's not really my jam. I like painting to get things done. I like painting only because I like playing with fully painted armies. Less so because I feel that they should be super nice looking. So that's how it is. Yeah. Oh my god, my nose has been running all day. So, what are we going to need to paint these guys? Well, we're doing red and we're doing bone. So we're going to be using a lot of contrast paints because we have. Oh, where's my bucket o' gaunts? We've got like that many to start with, plus these monsters, plus still to convert back all the Gene Stealers, Warriors, and Hormagaunts. Let's just start putting models down. Oh, also, I have figured out camera settings, so we can always adjust the video settings as needed, and it won't do the stupid autofocus thing. So now I can adjust the audio or the focus on the fly. It'll be a little bit delayed because I'm doing it, but for example, if we wanted to look at this fella up close, clearly blurry, but I can crank up the crank up the focus so that you can see what he looks like up close, and then I can dial back to the table. And I can do that as the show goes on, so we can always see if there's something I want to show or not, and I don't have to continue to fight it when it's like, oh, why is it not focused? Yeah, so we're going to have some Blood Angels red contrast paint. We're going to have some Skeleton Horde contrast paint. We're not going to be starting with big guys. We are going to start with gaunts, because then if all goes to shit, we can just not do this, and it's not as difficult as redoing monsters, because it's just a lot more to paint. What else we got here? We've got a Malanthrope, as you all would expect. Of course, the Malanthrope's going to show up here. These guys are just spray paint primed right now, if you're wondering. We have a Flying Hive Tyrant. Woo. Using 2 colors of spray paint to get that little, hey, look, I did Zenithal painting. Proper names and shit. It makes me want to paint black and white, but if anyone here has ever painted black and white, it's not fun painting black and white, and I don't recommend it. It's not easy. So anyway, we're going to be painting some dudes. Let's get the bucket o' gaunts. Oh, and we've got these guys, Trigons. And a Maliceptor. I picked one of these up the other day. He's freaking cool. I wish I had more. I would pick up more Maliceptors, even if just for the model. But I hope I'm not sniffling the whole time. We have some boys. We'll start with these guys. I might have to dip away and take more friggin' allergy meds or something, because out of nowhere they started bugging me. I was fine until I started talking. Maybe we just don't talk. Maybe we just lean back in the chair. We all just sit here and stare at this kind of poorly lit desk. Be the greatest. It'll be just like one of those other streams where it's just like blank wall, the stream. Anywho, I see people already going in the chats here. I was considering buying a Warlord Titan, but the paint time will be ungodly, especially since I get tired even painting the dreads. I mean, if you're going to buy a Titan, and you're going to spend the money on that much of a monster of a model, why not just get it painted? Find somebody who enjoys painting. Have them do it. You can pay them, whatever. What's another $100, $200, even $300 on top of a $1,500 to $1,800 model? Good bar, my daughter giving her monolith a null oil wash without supervision. She trashed it. Man, I'm so excited for the new monolith. I hope he's good. I think I was talking about it last time. The monolith is one of my favorite. Oh shit, I don't have any paper towel. God damn it, I'm gonna have to get up. Get out of there, paintbrush. Yeah, we're gonna have to just pause for a sec. I'll be right back, everybody. Alright, we're back, taking some meds, and we've got the paper towels so we can paint, and all that jazz. Alright, what's more exciting now, 40k 9th or Infinity N4? Well, I can't play Infinity N4 yet, so 9th still wins. I don't buy into hype, ever. Or Frostgrave 2nd Edition. Have been playing Frostgrave 2nd Edition. You'll have to wait and see those videos, but they're on their way. Oh my god. Your stomach's killing me. So, let's get this started and answer the questions as we go, and then ramble about whatever topics happen to get me going. So, what brush do we want to use? We're painting... Do we do the red first or the bone first? probably the bone first, because it's easier to clean up if it spills over into the red, because the red will be darker inherently. Alright. Yeah, so let's see, what do we got going on here? Frostgrave 2. Out in December, not sure about the reduced specialists. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot obviously taken from all of the different supplements of Frostgrave and all the learning that's gone along the way, and all the learning that came from Ghost Archipelago. So he's got a lot that is not the same as the original Frostgrave kind of experience. I was pretty interested that captains were not part of the core rulebook, that they're just you still have to reference the supplements, but you'll see that as our video comes out the other day. I didn't think the captain was implemented very well in Frostgrave. He was just like a drain on your economy for basically a warrior, and not even a particularly interesting one at that. I don't think the limiting specialist is the problem. I mean, I'll kind of go into it once the videos start coming out. But the short answer is, I think the free basic dudes is actually the problem. I get why it was done, but it means that no one has any value anymore. So we'll have to see. Have to see everybody's hot takes on it. I've played it a couple of games so far now. Like I said, I'm not going to really spoil too much about it. You'll see the videos when they come out, probably either this week or next week. But yeah, that's how that's going to go. About Mordheim 2. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Mordheim again. Talked about this last week, but we'll talk about it again. I don't think you want Mordheim 2. All you want is Mordheim, but more people play it. So, like, you want Mordheim 2 not because you actually want anything in Mordheim to change. You want Mordheim 2 because you want to be able to go to your game store and pick up games of Mordheim. And that doesn't really happen without a lot of work right now. You want it to come out so that people will buy into it, so that you have more people to play Mordheim with. Because what is it about Mordheim that you currently like? Like, when you really dig down into it. I kind of talked about this a bit last time, that I think my end goal, my idea of what it is that people like about Mordheim ultimately comes down to theme rather than substance. People don't really care to play the mechanics of Mordheim outside of maybe the injury table. They like the feeling of what it is to have your party. And so, like, with that in mind, what could a new edition bring to that other than things that you don't want? Like, are they going to make it more like Warcry? People that don't really die and you don't really progress without, like, drastically altering the rules, and then the combat system is literally just, I rolled a lot of hits and you did not, so I win? Oh, well, that's what current Mordheim is like. Well, I mean, that's what all dice games are, so I get it. But you see what I mean? Like, there's no gear, there's no interesting options, because it was harder to do that. Like, you needed to have more models, or you needed to have people pretend models were things that they didn't technically, or they weren't technically. Because, like, oh, this guy has a sword and shield, and you're like, that guy has a mace and a shield? Well, look, man, I didn't want to get another model when I changed my guy's pants. But it is what it is. Hopefully they make a new Mordheim, I guess. I don't know. I'm not super interested in getting a new Mordheim because I don't see it as anything other than a fucking shitty outcome where you get disappointed that they went, you've ruined it. Because which remake has come out in the last 20 years that wasn't disappointing in some way? And to cover my bases, how about the last 10 years? Because there might be something out there that I'm just not remembering. But I doubt it. I doubt it. Could we see you on other channels like Gaming with the Mountain or Luca the Dice? I don't know. Probably not. I'd have to go like find them, figure out times, figure out a place that we can play, set up streaming, blah blah blah. Like maybe, I guess. It's just convenient at the studio because I do work. I do have a job that's a 40 hours a week job. I just do this for fun. And you guys help out whenever you feel like it. Helps me pay for different stuff so I can do new content and buy miniatures so I can film new stuff. All that kind of jazz. And I really appreciate it for anyone who has supported in any way. I don't talk about just like, oh, give me dollary dues. Like sharing videos or talking about it or just showing up and watching is good enough for me. Mordheim made to order. There you go. That's what we need. That would be the thing that would fix Mordheim. It would finally get everyone back into it. Hello from New Zealand. How you doing? Bruce? What time is it in New Zealand? Is it early morning or late night? I can never remember which way things go. Aeronautica is fine, it just has a limited number of models. Yeah. There you go. You found one. Hopefully Mordheim can have an amazing re-splash like Aeronautica did. Maybe it did, but not near me. Oh, Termagants. 12 p.m. Okay, so like just after lunch. They shipped your job to Arizona? Oof, that's rough. Sorry, bud. It is fucking weird times, that's for sure. We can hang out and we'll paint models though. Not worry about all that shit, at least for a little while. At least for a little while. And just chat about hobbies. I've had people ask me in the past to like make comments on things that go on either in the world or the stupider shit that ties into miniature gaming. And I edge against it. A buddy of mine, he and I talk about all kinds of stuff as you do with your buddies. And I made a comment about like, I should just make a video about this because it's like it was something that really riled me up. And he's like, your channel is just hanging out. It's gaming with the cooler. You guys just play games and you talk about games. You don't need to bring that shit in there. If somebody wants to go find out whatever like drama is going on, there's a million channels that'll do it. Do you want to bring yourself down to that level? And not really. Even this statement is kind of, it breaks one of those old rules of mine. But just to kind of reiterate that and just tie it into the crazy political and economic stuff that's going on in the world, that'll fall under that same umbrella. While we're here, let's just play some games, get away from it all, talk about playing games. We need more gaunts and just hang out. Oh, a bunch of messages just got deleted. Blam. Hey, sexy from America. How you doing? I think Mordheim would be okay if they just made swords, maces, etc. a hand weapon and just add a note that they get additional rules or something. Then they're not just hand weapons. They're swords and maces. What are you even talking about? You can bring a hand weapon, but if it's a mace, you get +1 to bludgeoning. It's a mace, so you have a mace. Like that's all maces and swords are hand weapons with an additional rule. I'm not meaning to be more angry about that than I seem, but you just described the thing itself. It's weird. I've had this like huge urge recently, and I've started typing it all out to get into really fleshing out a miniature game. When I say miniature game, it's developing more into a board game. I'll be honest, but these guys are looking pretty cool. I'm gonna hold one of them up. So obviously, this is just the one color. Crank it up for focus. Oh, God damn it! I have to click this tiny little dot. So you go like that, and then the white parts will become red, and then we dry brush and highlight. Finally started building my battle force today. Good on you. Oh wait, I missed some here. Will we see any videos of you playing with Ash? Also, I already talked about what you want to talk about this video. Not really. We'll see. See what happens. Nice of you to build your battle force there, Tyler. Mordheim needs some fixes. Also, with all the expansions, overview is difficult. Yeah, I mean you could condense it, like do a reprint rather than a relaunch. That's kind of like an interesting way of going about it. But then you're not going to get that influx of players, which is really what you want. That would be a for the fans. It's for the fans kind of moment. Rather than a like real expansion of the game to get more people to play. And if you're not getting more people to play, what's the point, right? Like, didn't Mordheim's 20th anniversary come by not too long ago? They didn't get it then. That would have been the time. This is a Microsoft HD webcam. Just like it's like one of the little, it's like yay size. It's not very big. Yeah, total break for it. Just woke up, Lizard Queen. Yeah, I know the feeling. How do I feel about the Warhammer Fantasy? It feels like the focus is off. What if I just click auto for a second? There we go. I'll turn that off. Or like I guess the quality of the video is obviously going to be lower until it renders later on. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not gonna fight with it. It gets stupid if we start fighting with it. How do I feel about the Warhammer Fantasy reboot? I hope with the Warhammer Fantasy reboot, the old world, as you guys probably know, they really just go at it with factions that weren't represented in the original game, or were very minimally represented. Like the Kislev stuff, like doing something from the Far East, like bringing back Albion, like all that kind of stuff, or flesh out Norska in a way that isn't Chaos Warriors. Make it that there are like barbarians and like the Hung and the different tribes that are up there. Give them their own kind of flavor and like shamanistic tribal kind of thing, rather than just straight Warriors of Chaos. I think that would be an interesting route to go. And then, yeah, you can make it, clean up some of the rules a little bit, learn something about how the current rank and flanks do things as far as, like, how many units you want on the board at one time, how do you integrate characters, don't let them be by themselves kind of thing, like, make them stay part of the unit. But one of the big things with Warhammer Fantasy was that they were all your dudes, and that you could build them and put their own little pants on, and which kind of helmet does that guy have, and which kind of melee weapon does that guy have in this unit, and really getting to customize your army and being its own thing. So I hope they remember that when they remake it, that it being your army is really important, and they do it fairly well in 40k. and thankfully the player base doesn't get too outraged when people start going like their own paint schemes and their own ideas about how things could or should be. But I hope they don't forget that when they're doing Old World. But we'll see how it goes. Who knows? What tilts when you're playing tabletop games the most, and what do people do in tournaments that tilts you? So I kind of get tilted when I play miniature games. Like I mean, you guys have seen it when there's videos, but often it's passing. Like for me, it's consistent unluckiness on the dice, and I would say tilted in the sense that it's frustrating. But I think everyone feels that frustration. I don't think, like, you can't be a kind of person who wants to play these games that doesn't have a drive to want to win these games. Maybe you don't have that much of a drive to win, and that's fine. But you don't like it when you just consistently lose or consistently have a bad rung of the dice where you had a plan and it just nothing works, like that kind of thing. That'll rile me up. There's some player shenanigans that can get me bothered, like if someone's just being a dickbag. As far as if for thee but not for me kind of thing. I always try and, especially people like don't know, like in a tournament setting, I always give the benefit of the doubt. Like I'm the kind of guy who tries to set a couple standards right off the get-go. Like, hey, any dice we roll, if they're not flat on the table, we're going to re-roll them. Like even if they're on a terrain piece and they look pretty flat, we'll just re-roll it. Just roll directly on the table. Oh, you have a rolling mat or a little dice tray, perfect. We'll never have to fight over, oh, it was a 4, it was a 3. We can always just re-roll it, and we'll do it. Hopefully it happens to me first. Like usually what I'll do is I'll try and have like a shot, like an easy one, and throw it into the terrain a little bit. Something that I'm likely to hit on, and then re-roll my successful hit, just to set that kind of standard with someone I don't know very well. To be like, yeah, I'm going to play by my own rules. I'm not just trying to be an asshole. But you've seen those people. Like I had a guy one time where I had to have a conversation because he was lying about the outcomes of his dice. He was rolling them consistently behind a building where I couldn't see them clearly until I moved myself so I could see them. And then he's like, oh, I got 4 hits. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You got 2 hits. Because you hit on X number. And he had already scooped up the dice because he like rolled and immediately picked them up behind a terrain feature. But I could see it, and I don't think he realized that I could see it. And then I said, look, buddy, I need you to roll your dice over here in the open. I want everything to be visible. I don't want to have to play this. Like, let's just be civil. You don't have to take anything back. I'm not gonna tell you what you did or you didn't do beforehand. We're just gonna roll in the open. I said it pretty loud. The TO kind of floated nearby after that, and we didn't have an issue anymore. But that kind of garbage. It very rarely comes up. I find 99% of the people I play with that kind of stuff doesn't happen. There's only the occasional person who decided that, and I talked about this a little bit last show, that when you're playing someone, you're not just playing that game with that person. You're playing every game that you could play with that person in that game. And so you don't want to just, like, winning that one isn't everything if it means that you don't ever get to play again. Or they don't ever want to play with you again. Like, maybe they're the kind of person who wants to play in the tournaments, and they're not the kind of person who will just be like, peace, I ain't playing that guy, he's a dick. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the things that tilt me in games. I can recommend the Logitech C920. What's 150 US? Yeah, that's pretty pricey for me in Canada. It's like 500 fun bucks. Especially nowadays. We'll see. I mean, I don't usually use a camera, and you guys know that. And to be honest, I could probably just buy an HD cable that would be compatible with my like actual camera that you guys helped fund way back when, that I used for filming my battle reports, and try and figure out a way to set that thing up. I just haven't spent the time to figure out how we can set that up. So, I mean, I bet on me. I kind of think of it as like that is the video camera. It is for the videos, and the live shows are just kind of for funsies things. It's for the reason why, like, if anyone ever supported me on Patreon, you don't ever pay for any live shows, even if they were live shows that we like played games in or whatever, because it was specifically tied to battle reports. Gaunts, more gaunts. How many of these do I want to do? How long has this been? 25-ish minutes. Do you have a... Oh no. Demacrion? Demacarian? I know what you're talking about. It's the like huge jumping Tyranid, the fast attack guy on Forge World. I do not have one. It's a bit too pricey for me. I actually... The Malanthropes that I have came through kind of trades or secondhand, because I got them for good deals rather than through Forge World. I actually don't think I have bought a single thing off of Forge World. There's been a lot of because like the thing you have to remember is like it's going to cost me a lot to ship it here, and I don't really ever feel the drive to pay the like hundreds to thousands of dollars it's going to cost to buy one of those miniatures. Because obviously, like, if I'm going to buy from Forge World, I want to buy something big and crazy and cool, like fucking Smaug and stuff like that, or Smog, depending on when you read that book. So, yeah, I don't know. No is the answer. Anybody else find those keyboard lights hypnotic? That's my keyboard. It does its thing. Am I looking forward to playing some second edition Frostgrave? I have already played some second edition Frostgrave. There are videos on the way. Ash did week 1, so you'll get to check it out over on Gorilla Miniature Games. If you want to see the first video, it's not out yet, though when you're watching this video it might be. So, who knows? So the hero duel that I use also was part of a trade, and is not actually a hero duel. He's actually a, I think, Tyranifax? Or a Trigon, or something like that. But he's an old armor cast model, and he's way too big. Like, he's a scaled up version of the epic ones that existed, which is why he looks so weird and like bulbousy, and that they went in a different direction after epic was around. And so I use him as a hero duel because he works. Like, he's big enough in my opinion, and he's got claws and a ranged weapon, so like that'll do. But yeah, he was part of a trade too. I'm super happy with how that. I hope the person I traded likes what they got. I believe they got my Death Guard army and all my demons. The nicely, like, I'm kind of sad because I really liked the paint job on those guys, and I liked that army thematically, but I really like what I got out of it. So I'm not mad. I hope he enjoys them and that it worked out for him. Gaunt. Are there places where custom chapters are frowned upon? Oh yes. If you're the kind of guy who... there's two sides of that coin, right? One is, this is my own chapter, it's such and such, we use the Ultramarines rules. And then there's, I painted these guys like Ultramarines, but I use the Blood Angels rules, because they're better. So, there you go. I think the build your own chapter rules, like the build your own hive, build your own regiment stuff, is really good. I know that they're not necessarily good mechanically, but I think they're good to add that bit of flavor to the game, and I hope they don't go away, even though people on the internet just constantly shit on them as being inferior. But we'll see. Like, for example, the huge war boss one that came out with the Saga of the Beast or whatever it's called. The upgrade to your war boss to make him like a mini Gazgul where he gets an extra wound and a 4-up invuln. Super cool. Because now you can have like a scratch built war boss who's just bigger than a regular war boss and has like crazy guns or something. And then you buy him that, and then he kind of better represents the model that you've made. Or you go the other way around and you build a model to match those kind of rules. I think that's a really good thing to have in the game. Not because I'm going to do it. Like, I'll do it just because I don't have a Gazgul. But I think it's like just a healthy aspect to have, like to try and appeal to more people rather than nothing but matched play kind of stuff. Morgants. Is Canadian money just the Monopoly money equivalent now? Yes. Yes, it is. I remember seeing those hero duels. T-minus 4 months till I get my Indomitus. Yeah, wild. I can't believe how many people tried to be scalpers. I'm glad that GW did it, if only to fuck the scalpers over. I mean, on one level, I don't mind. I think scalping's fine. If you're the kind of person who wants to invest that kind of money to buy something, and you're also the other side of the coin kind of person who didn't pre-order or buy it in advance, but wants it bad enough that they're willing to pay extra to a person who already bought it, I think you guys should be allowed to make that deal. It is scummy to some degree. I think it's especially scummy when stores do it, or people who are like, they're like technically a brick and mortar store, but it's one person and they only are open like 25 hours a week. That guy gets like 18 copies or something like that, or he buys them for his store, but then buys them himself and then resells the pieces of it online under his personal account kind of thing. I fucking saw it. Like, I saw people do this, so you know who you are. That's a shitty thing to do. That's you being the kind of person that is the problem with like local hobby shops, and why GW keeps having to make these crazy draconian rules about trading their models, because you're the kind of guys that are trying to fuck up the business strategy of selling a entry level box set that is a good dollar to model ratio to get into the game. But anyway, GW coming around and saying, hey, by the way, anyone who didn't get it in advance, you can order one and we'll get it to you. No matter who orders it. It'll take a little while, but we'll get it to you. And I think that was great, because then you saw everybody, all of them out of the woodwork, be like, I have 18 boxes of Indomitus, or I still have 7 more boxes of Indomitus. This character's $15, this character's $25, this guy's 15, this guy's 15, and it's like, it is what it is, though. Like I said, I'm on board with people being able to do that. It just is like, So Daniel, you asked a question, have the Canadians done anything to get people to start eating out or going out? Because in the UK we have a scheme called Eat Out to Help Out, and we get discounts when we eat in places. Not really going to talk about that kind of stuff. You can Google it if you want to find out, or watch some YouTube shit around how Canada is dealing with a cough-related issue. Have I ever played any Epic? Not really. I think the closest to playing Epic I played was the new Apocalypse rules that are just the Epic rules, or at least a very similar version of it. 5, 10, 15, 20, well, shit. 23. That means we gotta paint 7 more. Will you ever play historical games like Saga? Man, I was just talking about this the other day too, but not on a video, so probably not. I'll be honest. I don't have much interest in historical wargaming. There's a few like Weird War ones that I don't mind, but for the most part, I don't care about the LARPing historical warfare. So probably not. I just don't have any interest, and that's why I'm not gonna do it. I missed armor costs. Got 2 termites. I wish I bought a knight. The old Armorcast Knights. I hope they come back with the weird looking Eldar Knights that existed back when, where you had like the four-legged like centaur or horse style Eldar Knights, and just all the weird non humanoid shape ones. Not the bipedal ones, but when you start getting into four legs and like spider legs and just like crazy shit. I want to see more of that. I like my Tyranids, damn it. I'd like to make my own custom chapter, but I can't shake the feeling they'd end up being snowflake-ish. I'm terrible at writing fluff. Yeah, I hear you. I haven't really successfully written background information, so I don't have much advice. I guess the only thing I could say is, like, think of your characters in the worst light from a reader's perspective. So, like, not your perspective, but, like, the perspective of someone looking at that and not liking it. And try and address the things that they wouldn't like. So don't make characters you like. Make characters that other people would also like or wouldn't dislike, I guess. I don't know. I can't tell you. Or just treat them like shit. Everybody likes that. Everyone knows it's great if you just make your characters have bad times. Finished my Space Marine half the other night. They're fun to build. Never painted one before. Yeah, Space Marines. The new Intercessors are so cool. All the new Primaris stuff. Is this your new Tyranid army or just an addition to existing one? So, I'm repainting my army, the existing one. This will be the new scheme. I'm starting, though, with all the models that I had that were not originally painted. So, a lot of the stuff that you'll see on this table, with the exception of the Trigon, none of this has actually been in a video. These are all things that were unpainted leading up to this repaint plan. Because I had been looking at them, and I want to really grind through and get all of my stuff painted or get caught up on the painting log. 40k is like one of the biggest squatters on the I need to get all this shit painted pile. So here we are. I think the red's going to look really sharp on these guys. I'm glad me and my sister got out 4 boxes to split between ourselves of Indominus. Good. I mean, all the power to you. That Indominus sold out in America in like 10 minutes. I went to hide in the bathroom at work to buy it, but it was already sold out. I know. And on that's sort of GW's fault too. They clearly underestimated the supply needs. And you also have to question how much the supply has been hampered during all of the shenanigans going on. So you can give them the benefit of the doubt in that regard. Doesn't mean you have to like it, though. You can still be mad. You can just be like, fine, I get that it's an excuse. And it may be a reasonable excuse, but I'm still not happy. Played any ninth with your Tyranids? Yes. Oh, what's good? I missed that. Hey, Tim. You know, painting, relaxing. Having a nice, comfy Sunday night paint stream. I have played ninth with my Tyranids. Not very much, though. I think only like 1, maybe 2 games. How many more do I have to get? 2 more. 2 more little gauntlets. 1, 2. And that'll be 30. We just keep going. There's a lot more in this basket. So, like, let's see if I can do this. All right. But the basket has, like, look at this. We got so many more. I think there's 60 or 70. Altogether, not including once again the ones that were already painted and the Hormagaunts. which I'll have to get into at some point. I took the jump in 9th edition and stripped my Marines to make a custom chapter, but with the new releases, cannot buy one for each chapter. Apparently there's an online chapter creator tool. I believe it. I mean, there's also that. There's tons of resources out there. Or take, like, either historical or other properties, like sci-fi army / group of soldiers, and then just mod your stories of your guys around it. And then there you go. You have a little story. Because, I mean, it's not like you're going to turn around and be, like, selling this shit. It's just for you and your friends and what you enjoy. Who cares if it's just something else? That's fine. Still time to go with the green flesh. Oh, wow, I missed a bunch of stuff. I love gaunts. They look like flocks of little dinosaurs. I love gaunts and all Tyranids. Tyranids are great. Can you please play some more Mordheim? I have played so many games of Mordheim. Probably up to 1,000. Like, different games. There's 300 to 400 games filmed of Mordheim throughout all of the videos and all the channels that I've played Mordheim on. I don't want to play any more Mordheim. There isn't anything that I haven't tried. There isn't any scenario that I haven't played. I've played against every faction, with every faction. I've leveled up factions. I've had the ups, the downs. There's nothing left for me for Mordheim. There's no puzzle to solve. It's just, that's the game now. The best I could go for is if I wanted to play a theme. But Mordheim does structure a little bit tighter than things like Frostgrave, where Frostgrave you could just be a bunch of random whatever things. Mordheim does have a lot of theme built into it. So we're kind of stuck. So no, probably not going to play more Mordheim. What's the color scheme? Oh, I brought it up already. Here, I'll bring it up again. We'll put it on the side of this screen here. Add media file. This is going to be the scheme. Once again, we're not going to be able to copy it, but I voted for Yandinids, right? They were a cool looking scheme. I kind of knew this one was going to win, but we talked about it as well. I don't care what color they are, just unless we get some live YouTube. Got anything with the completed color scheme for us to see? Nope. We're going in blind. I don't have the guardsman kind of thing to show off. But hey, we're about to have... Here, you know what? Let's... we'll slow down just doing the base coats, and we'll finish one of these guys off. Just so that we can kind of set a precedent for what they're going to look like. Oh, that's really bright. And then after we've got this guy done, we'll go back to just doing base coats on everybody. So this part is going to be a lot slower, because doing the red will take a lot longer, because I don't want to screw up and get it on top of the bone part, which means a lot longer per model than the bone was. Bone is pretty easy actually, just grinding that out there. Once again, I'm just using contrast paints. I love contrast paints. I don't think we'll do the guns red, though. I'm going to come back on that one. We'll see what we decide. We might do the guns like a green, like the really old classic Tyranids. With the red bodies and the green guns. We'll see. Do nids suffer with blast weapons? Potentially. I haven't played large swarms of nids in 9th edition yet. To be fair, I haven't played anything with large swarms in 9th edition. I haven't seen the larger effect of blast weapons. Actually, that's not true. I did play with my orcs, but my opponent didn't really have very many large blast grade weapons that would really benefit from that rule. I did play... Yeah, I've mostly played Mechanized Guard, my Ghosty and an army, and then a monster Tyranid list. And so I haven't really run in it, and none of my opponents have brought spams of anything. So, I don't know. We'll still wait and see. I was at the local hobby shop, though, the other day, and we were discussing how do you beat knights with nids. And the caveat is it needs to be a nid list that isn't just tailored to fight knights. It has to be something that can go up against, like, mech, space marines, and guard, and orcs. And we were having a lot of trouble with it. Because of 2,000 points of knights, that's 4 big knights. And they're pretty terrifying. Oh, no. I screwed up. We got a bunch of red on his leg. Motherfucker. How did that even happen? Oh, well. We're not going to fix it. Maybe I'll hit it with some Xandri dust at the end. Oh, let's switch the focus. Camera. Move that to the side. See? Oh my god, I'm not even moving the focus bar. There we go. I got it all on his leg. Shitty deal. These are gonna look sharp though. Like when you look at how nice that went on. Oh, I'm excited. Can you imagine what like 40 of these guys are gonna look like all together? It's gonna be great. And then back to 13. All right, we're gonna hide the Big Nitto picture for now until somebody comes into the chat and wonders what we're painting. Your son got into 40k with the Necrons? Ah, they're super cool. I like the Necron stuff. They were never my first choice of factions in Warhammer. My oldest first choice was Eldar, but it was a case of one of the people in my local group who I played with played them, and so it kind of defeated the point of playing them, because it's like, hey, if I play them, why would you play them? We want more armies. We want to see more stuff. And you don't want to be competing for releases and shit like that, too. But Necrons certainly are cool. And, like, for someone out there who doesn't like painting, you don't really want to do it, you hate it, it takes a long time, you don't feel you're very good at it, you may actually not be very good at it. What I'm doing here, this paint scheme, you could stop at that guy. You could just be done. You're going to look good enough to get away with it in most games. The only thing I would do is I would put another color, or I would finish off the gun, and I would make that the red as well. And you'd be fine. It was super easy. It was some spray paint and contrast. And it was only even like 2 layers of contrast paints. So I don't really accept the I didn't want to paint, or like I didn't paint my models, or I'm not a very good painter, because it's not hard. You have all the tools at your disposal to be able to do it. I don't see why you don't, other than I just didn't want to. And like, you know what? If you don't want to, That's fine too. Just say I don't want to paint. And let everyone judge you accordingly. Oh, that's what happened. I was painting the inner arm. But if you just want to get an army out there, and you're not really flustered about that stuff, you just need to have it painted. Because, I mean, new edition, painting's worth points. I guess I haven't done the basing on him yet. You could get away with that as well with just, like, sand. Did you zenithal before contrast? I mean, when I do zenithal priming, I prime the whole guy black, and then I take the Wraithbone white spray paint, and I spray him from the front. If it's a bigger model, I'll do the side a little bit. And then you get that, like, shaded look. And that's all there is to it. It's 2 rattle cans. It only takes a few minutes. Don't worry too much about the proper directional lighting and all that kind of stuff that you worry about. Have I ever tried any of the shifter paints? I have not. I'm not really, like I said, the person who's big on painting. I usually just buy whatever I need to get the job done. I could try it, but it would only be, is this easier to use than contrast paints for a greater effect? And we'd have to see. Maybe they are. I haven't done it. I know they look cool, but I also wonder how much work did it take to get to that point. So I bought a made-to-order Indomitus, then brought one from Amazon, and I think I want to play Orcs. Am I dumb? I mean, you might have made some poor purchasing decisions there if that's how you want to go, but at the same time, what's wrong with just having other things laying around? Like, is it so bad that you'd have a Tyranid or a Orc and Necron and a Space Marine army all available to play, or to give to a friend or something so that you can have someone to more reliably play with, or a family member, however it works out in your social circles? Seems like a fine thing to me. Paint the back of his head. Oh, red. They're such a good color. I was really tempted with the blue. It was why the Nidyandin was on the list, because there's that really awesome contrast blue. I usually use it for force weapons, or like when I want something to be really intensely blue. I can't remember what it's called right now, and I can find it, but I'm really just trying to grind these guys out, so I'm not going to do it right now. But it was definitely what I would be doing if I was doing the Yandin color, like yellow torsos with just like the Yandin wash, but then that blue, so they'd have super shiny carapaces, and I'd probably hit them with Ard coats as well, just to make them really pop. I might cover these guys entirely with like a semi-varnish, just so they shine and glisten, because I think that's cool looking. So I managed to get 2 times Betrayal of Calths for a discount retail price from an old Belgian shop. Guess I'm doing Iron Warriors. Yeah, everyone says that they always do Iron Warriors. I don't know. That must be a reference to the current rules in 30K. I don't think I could play 40K or 30K, if only because it would be nothing but Space Marines. And I don't fucking like Space Marines to play with or against. I like the extremes. he'd been playing my guard because tanks are awesome, but then he found out that there were robot skeletons. He was sold. Yep, that'd get a kid involved. Do you think tabletop gaming on Steam could take over? No. In the same reason I don't think books will ever go away. There's something to be said about the in-person relationship and like actually holding the dice and painting the models feeling that you get when you're playing with somebody. That just doesn't translate well over the internet. Maybe if VR becomes like really, really good or something way down the line, but then that'll replace all social contact. So we don't have to worry about that until it happens. So no, not really. I don't think it'll replace it. I just realized that I was grabbing handfuls and wasn't paying attention to what guns they were armed with. I was kind of interested in Necrons, but I never bought, not enough to buy into that. That was until Indomitus. I really like the War of the Worlds looking Canoptic Reanimator. There's a lot of cool stuff in that Indomitus box. There's also the new starter sets coming out, the like Elite Edition, Starter Edition, whatever boxes that are just cut up pieces of Indomitus. The pricing is really reasonable for those too, especially if you have a friend to continue to split with. If you wanted to max out or fill out an army, really nice to see those things coming out as kind of a like, here, take these. We'll bring more Indomituses, we promise. Give us more money. This makes for excellent company. Painting Blood Knights for Warhammer / the 9th Age. Neat. That's a potentially really expensive army unless you're just using Bretonians, in which case it's the same cost as a Bretonian army. Barhammer. Iron Warriors for 40k. I just love Iron Warriors. Using 30k models works really well. It's all you have access to, I understand, but if you can't replace the feeling experience you get on the table. Yeah, that was what I was saying. I think it's fine, especially with this shenanigans going on where we can't go to the hobby shops. Yeah, I played a bunch on Tabletop Simulator, but like I've never played a game of 40k on Tabletop Simulator, and I don't know if I could. I might lose it and just not want to play anymore. Are you picking up the new Kickstarter for Relic Blade? I did back the Relic Blade Kickstarter. Looking forward to that, Sean. Playing with some more models. I gotta pick up the little Acadian gnomes? Goblins? I think they're goblins. Looking forward to that too. So many things coming. Once we can go out and get them. What about Infinity? I've heard a new edition is coming. What about Infinity's new edition? Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of on the painting table Shazvasti. I think if we do a painting show next week, which we will, we're gonna break up the 40k and paint something different. And we'll probably paint. We'll see. I'm not gonna tie myself down to a choice yet. I'll just say we'll not paint 40k, and we'll see where that goes. Whether it's Infinity or maybe something else. So we'll have to see. But it won't be 40k. We'll paint a different game. Or a different series of models. But as far as what's happening in Infinity, yeah, 4th edition just got its announcements trailer. New Sectorial's on its way. Saladin is in a different faction, which makes me really nervous that Hawk Islam is getting the boot. But we'll see. Corvus Belli is not afraid to pivot on its heel and start producing models for other factions while slowing down or stopping productions of models that aren't really selling that well. I can appreciate it, but it makes me nervous. means I can get into new factions, but my own faction won't have anything coming out for it. It is ostensibly the Warhammer Fantasy 9th Age problem, in that, like, the 9th Age is starting to get past it, I think. They're becoming their own thing. But when the 9th Age was literally just Warhammer Fantasy, we don't want to play Age of Sigmar, it was going to run into the problem that, like, why would I play this? There's nothing coming. What it is what it will ever be. So that's kind of the problem you face unless those factions rebound again in the future, which they very well might, because they might do like some big errata or like new lore or whatever it is to just relaunch an old line with new sculpts. I think that's pretty cool. This is going to take a long time. I'm really feeling it already because there's so much red on these guys, and there's so many little details on them. I can see that I'm like missing little spots in the same spots consistently, or like getting it on their little shin pads and stuff like that. Affinity via Tabletop Simulator is getting a bit popular, especially when there are methods to scan your models and play with them. Yeah, I mean, there's scan model systems for every game. On Tabletop Simulator, it's just, that's part of the function. If anything, people love this stuff even more as an escape from social isolation of PCs as mobile stuff. Yeah. I believe it. But anyway, we'll just have to wait and see how 4th edition goes. Who knows what the future holds right now? Who knows how well or poorly a release will come out? At least it's not like the unfortunate situation with Aristea, where it came out back to back with like Shadespire or something. I remember that it was basically like 2 of the same game came out, but one was by the largest fucking miniature game company in the world, and the other one came out from Corvus Belli, who is not small, but they're not GW. And they were not going to be able to outmarket the other side, which sucks, because Aristea is a solid game. There's a lot of those, actually, now that I'm dwelling on it right now, that all came out together. Because there's like Shadespire and Aristea, and Riot Quest has come out too. And I know there's more. Just these like hero battlers. Wonder where that came from. Where was that zeitgeist spawned that we all have to make a board game variant of our game? And that multiple independent companies decided to go about, like, because when you see them come out, it's not like they all just decided that month that, like, oh fuck yeah, let's make one, and they made it. Like, clearly these things are in a lot of development beforehand and deciding to invest or not into them, and then they just happen to all come out within like 6 months of each other. What armies do I have in 40k? What would you say are the beginning easiest ones to play? 40k is a tedious, complicated game to play. The basic mechanics, though, are not bad. It doesn't matter what faction you play, as far as just the basics. If you want to be the kind of person who jumps, like, feet first, all in on competitive, get into the meta thing, play Space Marines. They have the easiest stat line to remember. All of their special rules are tied to just being near each other, and there you go. Reroll the dice. I'd like to try Relic Blade, but I can't get my group to play anything other than 40k. Yeah. Hey man, bring the models. That's the best thing I can say. It's hard to get somebody to buy in on something else. It's not as hard to get them if you bring the models and say, hey, you use these, pick from these models what you like. Let's try this out. And then if they like it, great. If they like it a lot, they'll go buy their own. If they don't, then they don't. And like, hey, that's just how it is. They don't like it. can't make somebody like something. What comes even close to GW in the top 3? I don't know. Probably nobody. Not in miniatures, anyway. Or at least the money that they can throw at marketing and all that kind of stuff. Because, like, what happened when the previous Warhammer edition came out? Like, tons of companies went out of business because of that. They just drowned out every other release for every other game when 8th edition 40k came out. Like, miniature companies died because of that shit. And, like, I'd say it's sad, but, like, I don't really feel bad about these things because, look, that's the risk you get into. It's not like anyone who gets into developing a miniature thing doesn't know about the giant megacorp. Not really, they're megacorp. They're just people like everywhere else. They just have a lot of money to throw at stuff, and like if you don't realize that that's your competition, that's what you have to find a niche against, then like you fucking should have learned a little bit more before you jumped in. But how can you know, right? How can you know that this summer is the summer where everything changes and GW turns on the fucking internet hype machine and doesn't turn it off? Out of nowhere, they become like, we're going to support online content creators. We're going to create our own online content. We're going to make our own YouTube channel. It's going to quickly rocket to be one of the largest YouTube channels within miniature gaming, to being the largest YouTube channel within miniature gaming. Like, it just came out of nowhere in the history of GW online presence, interaction kind of thing. It's wild. I like it a lot more. I'm glad that they're online. Not that I'm getting sponsored, but that's okay. I don't really put out content often enough, and I have some pretty flaky opinions, so not really the kind of person that you'd want to jump on. I get it. Have I played Oathmark yet? Not yet. Gotta paint that army. Maybe that's what we'll paint next week. We'll see. We'll see. I host games at my place, no local shop. I live in quite a rural area in Alabama, so maybe I can bribe them into trying a game. I'll break them down and force them to try if nothing else. See, that's all it is, man. You get them to try. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. And that's it. You just got to accept that. It's not for everybody. Tried any Star Wars Armada or Legion? I haven't played Star Wars Armada in so long. I haven't tried Legion yet. I don't like Star Wars. I'm just going to say it. The most fun I have with Star Wars is making fun of how fucking bad Star Wars is. And before everyone raises gets the typing started, you know. What game systems do you play? Have you moved away from RNF? Oh, rank and flank, or found enjoyment in Warhammer Fantasy Battle: The Ninth Age. I don't know what WAP stands for. So I've played, as far as rank and flanks are concerned, A Song of Ice and Fire and Kings of War are the two rank and flank games that I will play. They're both kind of tiresome. I think Ratha, or Jesus Christ, the Mantic one. It's not Wrath of Kings. Don't worry, it's not that one. I just said it too. Anyway, the one I'm talking about is a lot easier to play than A Song of Ice and Fire. I think Song of Ice and Fire needs some game size readjustments. Needs to be like, play this. You know, I don't want to paint little guys for a little bit. Let's paint something bigger. How many did I get through? 8? What do we want to work on? Let's do the Mounthrope. He's nice and easy. Yeah, so there are other rank and flank. Kings of War. That was the one I was trying to say. But no, I haven't played Warhammer Fantasy Battle or the Ninth Age. And I don't know what WAP stands for. But I'm bad. Warhammer Armies Project. Oh, I see. Closer to the 9th Age, but not as tournament focused. No, I tend to focus, and like if I'm gonna play a game, on a game that is publicly known. I don't know. It's set in the old world, and it's basically 8th edition, but better balanced, I guess. I fucking doubt it. Nothing is balanced. Just bought a Maliceptor myself. Can't wait to field it. You know what? Let's look at this Maliceptor. Because he's the newest model I have. The model I don't know. I have an idea. I have a scheme. Myself and a couple of guys at Valhalla talked through the optimum Tyranid list. And guess who sits in the optimal Tyranid list? Now, this is for 8th edition. Though 8th edition and 9th edition aren't that different. At least in scenario play. And the points are not that big of a change, though it will mean having to rewrite the list, because it was down to the wire, like every point was accounted for. So I have to see if it still would work. But Mr. Maliceptor and 2 other Maliceptors are all fucking tied in together. So we'd have to see. Yeah, let's paint a bigger dude. What did I do with my other paint? Are you the skeleton paint? Yes, you are. I wonder how well received Warhammer Old World will be if I can use the minis in Age of Sigmar with circular bases and square regiments like a Song of Ice and Fire. Hey, I have some bases that work with roundies. For those of you who watched the Song or Age of Sigmar battle report over on Ash's channel, when I decided to just peak Goblin, though you could make a more effective Goblin list, I just wanted to bring lots of Fanatics, I suppose. It's not really peak Goblin, it's peak Fanatic. I brought out some square movement trays that hold roundy models. One thing, too, I like is that normally contrast paints aren't very good for painting large surfaces. But if you're painting a creature, like a living being, they don't have perfect color tone. And you get away with it being a little bit jankier and mistoned. Feels good. Means I can continue to use the same paint scheme. Yeah, I don't believe miniature games really get balanced. To just kind of go back to that Barhammer, I'll kind of argue that they can get more balanced. Like I guess I'll concede that you can find ways to mitigate shenanigans that can take place in army building or gameplay mechanics or whatever. But to get to the bottom of it only makes a less exciting game. Like, I think chess is a very good game. I don't think chess is an exciting game. And that's how I feel with game balance, is that if you curtail all of the random and all of the fun and all of the things that you can't quite account for, you will make a more balanced game, but you'll make a less exciting game. And I think that's important. I think going into it with the mindset that you won't hit 50% win rates is a way to go, in my opinion, as far as balancing is concerned. You'd have like an asymmetrical balance. I kind of feel like everyone has either gone to Age of Sigmar and realized it's better, or gone to Kings of War and realized it's better. Kings of War is a weird game, though. I almost don't consider Kings of War a rank and flank game, only because Kings of War isn't ranks of guys. Kings of War is an individual model who pretends to be a unit of dudes. You could play Kings of War with single models that have 12, 15, 20, whatever wounds, and then a morale stat where they just run away. And that would be fine mechanically. Like, you wouldn't even see the difference. If you reskinned Kings of War to be just like a rock'em sock'em robot game, you wouldn't even know. If you change the lore and like modified the names of the stats and what they count as, just to kind of erase that minimum model count and base sizes, you just went like, this guy's on a 50 by 60 or whatever. That would be it. You just have a bunch of single models fighting. But what Kings of War does do very well is it emphasizes the movement game, which is something that I think miniature games are getting bad at as time goes on. Because one of the mechanics that's really tedious in miniature gaming is facing. Determining the direction that a model is looking, and then having mechanics that reward or punish you based on that. As any Infinity player will tell you, whenever you play a game, it becomes a game of my intention is to be facing so I can see X and Y, or X and Y, or X and Y. And it makes it much more difficult to just play the game. And like old 40K and old Warhammer and Mordheim and all these games, they have that I'm facing to the front, I'm facing to the rear, and they've all moved away from it because it's a more difficult play experience. And I get it, it definitely is, but you lose something in that. Like, you lose having to maneuver around people. And if you don't have to maneuver around people, you slowly devolve into 40K, where moving doesn't matter at all anymore. You don't flank, you don't do any of that shit. You just get closer or you get further. That's it. There's no interesting dynamics. That's why I was talking last week about how I feel vehicles should have facings again. To try and bring that aspect of the game back, because it doesn't exist right now. And I think Kings of War does a very good job of really emphasizing how important that movement game is. And their rules tie into it, like straight up 100% more damage and 200% more damage. No, 300%, sorry, based on flanks or rears is an incredible amount. No, it is 200% because that's 3 times. Is a much better way of really showing that and showing how strong getting behind someone is, and rewarding players who take the time / practice strategies to benefit that rear charge. And I think other games like Song of Ice and Fire and stuff don't do it enough. +1 or -1 to your saves or whatever, I don't feel is quite enough to do it. Fucking Fantasy and Warhammer never did it well, where it was like mods to morale, which I guess morale was important, but it became too easy later in the game to just auto pass morale, or to not be a unit that was big enough to give a shit in the first place, or they had some kind of rule that made them not care. So that's kind of my sense there. I wish 40K or 9th Age or whatever one of those you're playing has done something to really emphasize the power of getting behind the enemy, because it adds a lot to your game. Like, it adds a lot to the excitement of trying to figure it out. Like, if you took the Maliceptor, right? If you look at this model, he looks like a rhino. He has, like, a huge torso, big armored head, but, like, a relatively soft underbelly. And I would make the argument that, like, oh, he's toughness 7 or 8 in the front, but if you get him from behind, he goes down to, like, toughness 6. Like, he becomes a weaker, less defensible monster. How would you do that? Well, there's lots of ways you could figure it out, but at least it would be something. Have you been printing anything with your Ender 3 recently? I'm running some creators right now while I'm painting. It's been a godsend for terrain. Yeah, I've been printing stuff too. There's a whole debate about that. Last week we had a discussion about it, because it's come up in my local area about printing. I'm not going to get into it again. If you want to watch it, go look at last week's painting the Helldivers, because we talked about it quite a bit. So it's a significant chunk of the video. Yeah, fantasy had disruption, which was a morale effect, and combat resolution, which was a morale effect. And then you got, well, I'm steadfast all the time, or this unit doesn't suffer morale, or I don't care if that unit dies because I brought nothing but chaff to block those hits, or whatever. Like, you get it. It should have been a combination of things in that case. It's a good. Oh wait, I missed your comment further back. Let's see if I missed anything else. I've been kind of zoned out here. It's a good point. It's how I feel about the Ninth Age. It's slowly reduced variables and funny, unique expressions of the figures to be more balanced. Yeah, that's my point. And it's the only way you can do it. Like, you can't balance all of the crazy shit that you may want to have in your game, and so you have to try and find a line where it's crazy still, but it at least functions, and no one faction has the crazy combo that kills everybody. Thoughts on Chaos Space Marines? GW seems to have no idea what the faction. So, I don't know enough about the Warhammer 40k kind of meta. But if it was up to me, from like a design choice, make Chaos Primaris Marines. Like, that's my 2 cents. Just do that. Just do it. Fuck it. People will get mad. Who cares? Because right now, they're being outclassed horrendously from a model point. The new Chaos Space Marines are fucking awesome. I have a bunch. You guys have seen my Chaos guys. I don't have a ton, but I have a couple. I have like a 2 starter sets worth. And they're super cool. But they are just garbage in the game. Just make them 2 wounds. Make them Primaris Marines. And if you're not willing to do that, then go the other direction and make fucking monsters. Make the demons the kings and make them mutant huge dudes everywhere. Like what they did with Nurgle, where you had the like Blight King-esque models. Just do that. Make it that the great houses of chaos, the Nurgle and the Khorne and the Tzeentch and the blah 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 blah, make them have their own unique dudes, like their own chaos warriors that have become beyond normal like stuff, like the idea of scarab occult terminators and things like that. Just push that and push it and push it and push it until it's something totally alien to the like form. Like, take what they did with the Greater Possessed and do like a Khorne version of that, who's more like one of the Khorne Berserker guys from Age of Sigmar, where he's way bigger than a Space Marine. He's on 40 or 50 millimeter bases. And you bring squads of like 5, and they've got 4 or 5 wounds apiece, and they're just wrecking balls. Like, go that direction if you're not willing to make the line of troops up to the line of troops of the other chaos, like the other Space Marines. And Primaris Marines are just the other Space Marines. That's my my 2 cents on chaos. I don't know the faction. I don't know what you can do with the rules. But that's what I would do from like a modeling point. Just to differentiate them or to catch them up. Whichever direction you want to go with it. I have an FDM printer, and so it doesn't do very well at printing 28 millimeter models at any kind of high resolution. I'd need to get a resin if I wanted to do that. But I don't want to really do that. There's a lot of negatives that go with it. A lot of extra things you have to take care of when you have a resin printer, and my living situation plus just the increased amount of stuff involved with it made it that I'm like, I'm not going to go down that path. So hey, maybe they're great. I've probably seen it around, but I haven't seen it. Do I still enjoy War Machine? What do you mean? Like, I haven't played War Machine in a long time. Don't even really look at my War Machine stuff. It's mostly packed away. Actually, that's not accurate. I can see my scorn stuff from where I'm sitting, but I don't think about it. That's how little I think about it. I could see them and didn't think about it. WAP has kept all the unbalanced and fun craziness, but changed some of the core mechanics, such as 6 dicing, irresistible OP spells, made disruption, remove steadfast. Well, there you go. They took steps in that direction, but then they were going to end up suffering from the problem of, well, what comes next? You can't have a game just stay still. You got to have something. There has to be something coming. War Machine has gotten a lot better since Mark II. Whoa. That is a claim I have not heard. You're gonna have to explain yourself on that one there, Toby. Yeah, Bar, there's the concept of having there's a technical term for it that I can't remember. But the easy way of describing it is just apples and oranges. You have non-equivalent equivalency by things having different value based on the situations they're in. I feel that certain games kind of did this fairly well. I'm trying to think of examples off the top of my head right now, and I'm failing. An example would be let's see. I mean, let's use Frostgrave as an example. So, the Wall spell, for example, super powerful ability. Affects the entire direction of games, changes the layout of the board, changes the way models move, blah, 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 blah. But how do you compare Wall to Lightning Bolt? Like, where do you even... How do you even parse those two apart about what is the better spell? Well, you see, Elemental Bolt is a +7 shooting attack, which makes it as good as the best tier archers in the game ever. And can be shot from a distance and does this, that, and the other thing. And the other person says, well, Wall can block Elemental Bolt if I'm standing behind it. And it's like, well, it can't block all of... Like, that kind of thing is what I mean when I say that, like, you just make it where factions and people have rules that compete with each other, but don't even have the same kind of level of how they're competing. That's kind of how I'm going about it. Do I ever miss working at Mini Wargaming and getting paid to play? I mean, not really. I left Mini Wargaming a long time ago now, and I don't regret it. Mini Wargaming is a place that's like fine to work at. There's nothing, I don't have anything against the people that work there, or the people who have chosen to stay. I mean, I've got lots of friends of the people who work there. It wasn't for me. I started to resent all the games that I was playing. I didn't want to really partake in the interactions and the relationships with the people online because it became work. It became tedious. I didn't want to go to the game event anymore. That this thing that I enjoy, this hobby that I've spent thousands of hours and hundreds of thousands of dollars, well, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds to thousands of dollars on, became a chore. It became something that I didn't want to do. And so I don't regret it. Like, I don't miss it. I miss it in the sense that, like, it was fun to hang out with my friends and we got to talk about Warhammer all the time. I can talk about Warhammer all the time now. Like, I can toss Dan a message or Quirk a message and be like, yo, did you see the new thing? And that's it. So, that's kind of it. For the sake of entering a game, the introduction of themes and the new requisition system made it easier. If you mean about the players, no, they still blow. Easier to build an army and enter the game. Is it cheaper? And when you enter the game, how easy is it to play when your opponent also has an army and you don't know their rules very well? You gonna have a good time? That was the biggest problem I saw with War Machine. I suffered through it, but I'm the kind of person who enjoys trying to figure out the puzzle. But good God, are you going to lose a lot of games? I have a friend of mine who is a fairly good War Machine player, and they had said in order to know a character in War Machine, in order to know a Warcaster, you had to play 100 games with that Warcaster. Can you imagine? Could you imagine if I told you how to do that? Like, if you wanted to know how to play anything, you need to play 100 games, and they're probably right. That's how crazy it is. Before you could understand all of the potential wombo combo interaction, opponent combinations, strengths, weaknesses, differences in the game that aren't going to result in you just like a turn 3 assassination dead. Brutal. Mini Wargaming Days were the last time I wrote in any video related to you, if I recall correctly. I think you asked for input on your new Dark Elves. Ooh, that's a long time ago. That's pretty early at Mini Wargaming too. I was there for a reasonable amount of time. Ironically, Mini Wargaming has all those Dark Elves now. I love occasionally seeing them show up in those videos, because I'm not proud of that paint scheme. I sold them my Dark Elves sometime, a little while after I had left. I don't recall exactly what the context was around it. They're probably just looking for armies, because they're kind of always looking. I mean, I don't know if they are anymore. They have a lot of people who paint for them, or they can do ad spots to paint for, whatever the fuck they do now, but Haley 3 killed any desire I had to play War Machine Mark 3, and that I have 25 free points of models because I took this specific list. Escalation Mark 1 was the best era. I mean, yeah, maybe. I only played Mark II War Machine. I played it a lot. I got pretty good at it. I would win more than I would lose wherever I went, and then I stopped playing. And I think I basically cold turkeyed it. It was just like, I'm done with this, and I never played again. So, the main torso part of this guy, what color do we do this? Do we do it bone, or do we do it red? Because it's got the vents that their bodies do, and everyone else's vents stick through their plates, or are part of the plates, like the flyrants. And so it's going to raise the question of, are the vents going to be red on everyone else? Or are they going to be the bone color to match the shell? I'm thinking red, because they're going to be red on those guys to go with the bone shell. We'll see. Trying to get into heavy gear and put a list together makes me feel like I'm trying to solve the Da Vinci Code. Fair enough. I mean, go build a list out of the back of one of the army books. The brain's going to be like pink or something. They're saying bone with red brain. Red. Yeah, I'm thinking red. Introduction experience, small scale War Machine is fun. Hey man, there's a lot of games where if all the players are equally skilled, are really good. And that doesn't necessarily mean really good. That just means that they're all in the same place. Cooperative board games, I find, suffer badly from this for the most part. Is that one person will have more knowledge about the board game, and everyone else is now just also there. because now it's just one person directing the actions of everyone else at the table, and that sucks. And it makes it. I like playing cooperative board games when we all don't know how to play. I find it is the most fun. Some of them do a better job at hiding that than others. Some of them actually do require you to make different decisions. I like, we played Nemesis not too long ago, which is an interesting board game that involves it's semi-cooperative because some of your objectives that are secret result in the deaths of other players. And so you have this interesting thing where you have to trust each other, but also kind of not trust each other and give each other advice / whatever, but you don't necessarily trust what they're saying. So that was pretty fun, and I enjoyed that. What do I think of the switch from hand-sculpted miniatures to CAD? It has certainly lowered the differential in miniatures. That didn't really make sense. Let me rephrase that. More miniatures are starting to look like other miniatures more often, because it's easy to just reshape the top layer mesh on an already existing frame than it was to resculpt a whole new miniature. And so you're getting miniatures that are coming out that look much more like variants of miniatures that already exist. Infinity is actually, I think, pretty bad for this, where there's like people make fun of them for the tactical rock thing, and they've even made jokes about it themselves. But they have to do that, if only to break up, like, how many fucking poses can the human body go in while holding a weapon in a ready stance? 10? 7? There's not a lot. And so they've gotten wilder and wilder, and adding more and more stuff to the bases just to make it look like they're not the same fucking model with a new armor coating. And then when they go a little bit too far, they get slapped by the community, being like, that Wu Ming who's doing the dynamic slide is stupid, or, oh, thank God, someone's not just standing there with foot on rock. But, flip side, it opens the door for so many more people to be able to make new, interesting-looking miniatures in different styles and things, faster and cheaper than they could when you had to have some guy out there who was really talented at sculpting. Not that you don't need a lot of talent to do it online, but I guess it's different or tied more to other things. I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not a sculptor. But it feels that way as a layman looking in. I think red was the way to go. We'll see. Oh, Jesus, there's so many more comments. Thoughts on Malifaux? Never played Malifaux. No thoughts. Try making the match playlist for Warhammer 40k with just the books. It's an ordeal. It is an ordeal. Play power level. Check out New Gloomhaven. Very fun. Yeah. I just like miniatures, though. I almost bought Gloomhaven until I realized it was all standees, and then I straight up didn't buy it just because of that. And I get it would cost fucking thousands of dollars if it had all the miniatures in it that it has in standees and interactions. But that's the hill I'm gonna die on here. Da da da. I heard that situation called quarterbacking, when someone is taking charge and telling people how to live or play cards, not how to move or play cards. Yeah, I mean, because it sucks, right? So put yourself in the shoes of the person. So you've played game many times. You love it. It's an awesome game to play. You've got your buddies in. You want to show it to new friends. You want to show it to friends that you have had for a long time that haven't gotten to play it yet. It's a co-op game, and you're going to work together to try and solve problem. Now, you know that there's a bunch of different potential problem like outcomes, and in order to try and solve those, if each of you are doing X, Y, Z, or if each of you are doing X, that's the most efficient way to solve the problem. And you want to succeed because you're playing with your friends and you all want to win. And you look at your friend and you go, hey, why are you doing Y? If you do X, such and such will make us get there faster. And he goes, oh yeah, sure, I guess so. And then you look at your other friend and he's doing Z, and you go like, hey, I like what you're doing here, but it might make more sense if you did X as well, because if we did X here, we'd get this. And he goes, fuck you, I want to play my own game. And you go, well, look, man, I just want to make it so we all win. And he goes, yeah, and I want to play the game how I want to play the game. And you go, okay, that's fair. We can play however we want. And then you lose. And now the first guy you talk to and you have to look at the other guy who goes, well, I fucking killed us all. My bad. Ha ha ha. I don't want to play anymore. That wasn't very fun. Like, I can see that whole interaction. Now, I don't really play very many co-op board games, so I haven't had that experience, but I can feel it. I can see it in myself already. The few times I've played co-op games where I'm like, oh, I'm figuring this out. I understand what's happening here. And I start talking to my friends, and it's like, I don't have enough knowledge to like pressure that I think my way should be the way we do it, but it's there, and I can feel the like, why don't you just do this? This would be the better way of playing. And then it's like, well, then they're not playing. You're just playing their character too. And I mean, some people are going to be okay with that, but it's weird. Makes it hard. It's a lot easier to call out in a competitive sense, where let's say you and a person are playing a competitive game of War Machine or 40K or whatever, and a third guy walks over and is like, hey, make sure you do this, because if you don't, he'll do that. And you look at him and go like, let him play his own fucking game. I'm sure everyone has felt that before. Then it gets really funny, and you're at like a live stream game between two of the top players in the world playing over an invite to one of the highest ranking tournaments, and then you find out that one of those players has a person sitting in the other room watching it live, sending text messages to one of the people who are playing to give them advice to not forget certain aspects or to do things that would benefit their or increase their likelihood of winning. And then you bring it up and you say like, are you giving them advice during the match? And they go, well, yeah, it's just like little things. And you go, if you walked over to the table and told them, hey, don't forget about that, do you feel that that would be appropriate? And they kind of shrug it off. And you go, I'm not going to talk about it to anybody, but just think about what you're doing. And they go, it's no big deal. And I go, okay, whatever. And then later on, they come up and talk to you and go, hey, I just wanted to say that, like, I thought about what you said, and yeah, we're not that. I wasn't doing that. And you go, whatever, man. I don't care what you're doing. It's a stupid game. I hope you won. Not that that's ever happened. Hypothetical, surely. Funny though. Be a real shame if that person won a ticket to an event because their friend advised them of mistakes that they would otherwise make, thus helping them win a game in a competitive format against someone else who also wanted to win that event. But who am I to say? Happens every time I play Pandemic. My teammates always feel their way is the best and me playing my way is ruining it for them. Right? But it's also, maybe they're right. Like, you gotta keep that in mind. Maybe you are ruining it for them. and they're right to call you out, and you should change to fit their type of having fun. Like, you don't know, right? It's all just opinions. Guess it depends on how well aligned the participant's goal is with the activity slash mindset is. I can easily change my mindset between lulzy casual gaming and competitive stuff. Well, see, this is the thing though, is I'm talking that example I used in the long time was, or the long term was in a competitive sense, which is different. But in a let's work cooperatively to achieve a goal, unless you can get everyone's consensus on we're not actually going to try and achieve the goal, we're just going to have fun, then the question becomes, why the fuck are we even doing this then? Like, if we're not going to try and win, we're just screwing around. Why don't we just go do something we want to win at? Oh, you know what? I'm going to use the blue that I really liked for the brain. I think that's what we'll do. Please stop hitting with the mic. Yeah, it is. Bam, bam. Bam, bam, bam. Fuck, bam, slap. Is the cooler to Southpaw? For some things. I broke a lot of bones in my left arm at one point, which was my dominant arm for the longest time, and I had to learn how to use my right arm for everything. Oh my god, I hit the brush, and that wasn't intentional. So there's a whole like list of things that I do where I use my dominant right arm, but then there's certain parts of certain tasks that I'll switch hands and go left. So like I find painting with my left hand easier, but I find like writing on a chalkboard with my right hand easier. It's weird. I can't explain it. It's like, it's not ambidextrous. There are tasks that I'm just shitty at with my right hand that I can't do. Like I can't write with my right hand, but some instances of writing I can. Rip headphone users. I'm using headphones. Deal with it. I was okay. Oh, and do you think they should just get rid of the point system and make everyone play power level? Yes. Or flatten the point system. I'd also be okay with that. Do what Age of Sigmar did and make it where the points are, like, you can add them up in your head without much trouble. 100 points, 100 points, 50 points, 100 points, 100 points, 20 points, done. Make it like that. Don't make it where it's like 17 and 5 and 7 and 9 and 12 and 13 and 75. Fuck that. Make it easier to play, not harder. Which is why the power level works. It's just counting to 100 by 5s. Mostly. There are off numbers, of course, but... Oh god, I did it again. I'm like trying to be aware now every time I punch the microphone. That's what I meant with War Machine. It requires 2 players working towards a positive play experience, otherwise it's miserable. I mean, all games require everyone pushing to a positive play experience, or else it's miserable. It's just a matter of how easy does it slip into miserable if one of those players starts fucking about. That's the real deciding factor. This might have been a mistake, guys. Fucking painting. Oh my god. If GW gave the Gaunts the new Kron treatment and came out with a new box set, what would you toss all your old models for the new ones, as long as they were better, obviously? I wouldn't get rid of them. I would just get the new ones. If it meant phasing out my old ones, sure. In the meantime, while I slowly built up my collection of the new, cooler-looking models, I would continue to use them, and then over time, they'd get in the shelf. And I'd look back and go, yeah, these were really fun. Maybe I'll use them for some kind of like apocalypse game, or maybe I'll play a throwback game in the future. But I enjoyed them for what they were while I had them, and that would be that. And then who knows, maybe down the line, there's something that comes out that calls for them again, or I'm looking for them as a nostalgia thing, or I just find that I want to sell them and someone out there is trying to collect up a classic Gaunt army. You never know. But if there's a new model that comes out, why would I not want to collect the new, cooler looking thing? It doesn't invalidate my previous purchase, because I purchased the thing for what it was when I purchased it. I didn't purchase it for it to be that thing forever, other than the fact that it was a plastic model that I painted, and that's what it'll be forever. It won't always be a Hormigaunt, except for just to me. You've gotten so much better at painting. Yeah, I have. That's definitely true. It is, of course, to my own standard and in my own kind of systems of doing so. I have more to work on. There are things that I don't do very well. So for fuck's sakes. But my ability to identify, we'll just wait. We'll get him further along and I'll come back and we'll look at him. It's going to hide off camera for now. And it'll just be like, shablam! Talisar blue. That's the color. Tassadar blue. That was the one I was thinking of as the really sexy blue bottle. Power level for units is finally updated as well. Good. Streamlining the point system. I like my overly complex list building options. Min-maxing lists to the very last point is one of the more fun parts of Warhammer. It can be. It can be. But like, you can do the kind of apples and oranges changes and keep the points within the same. Like if you make it where spears and swords do two different things with positives and negatives associated with them, you can cost the same amount of points but still get the diversity of choice. And then I would go so far as to let people mix and match in their units. It'll slow the game down a little bit, but like if you could do like a sword and board frontline guy in a unit, and then the back line is spears who have a 2-inch reach, and then when your unit fights, it matters the way they're lined up in the unit, because let's say, for example, the guys who are closest to the enemy have to die first. You can create an interesting dynamic of how your units actually fight in combat. That works more for like round bases. It wouldn't work in the games that you were talking about there, Warhammer, with the rank and flanks, because it's hard to pull the models out of the middle out first. but you see what I mean, like that level of thing. And that doesn't necessarily require a point differential. That unit could be 100 points regardless, and then to upgrade to larger scale units would cost more points, just adding on to that original 100. But then the gear that they have is just this gear or this gear or this gear or this gear, and then intermingle as you will to get these different benefits, which is to what Age of Sigmar has done to some degree. To some degree. There's still a lot of units that are just mono. You buy it, you get this. Oh my god, this blue is so nice. It's probably my favorite contrast paint. There's a lot of blues that you get that aren't like a deep blue. Not the movie. They're like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. This is a good blue. I wish it was around when I first painted my Eandon army, because I would have fucking painted them with these. Oh my god. That's an army I'm not going to go back and repaint, for the record. One, I think it actually looks pretty good, and two, it was a bitch. It's also why I haven't added too much to it, because it's so hard to add. This, as in a lot else, 40k should be like AOS. Yeah, there's a lot that AOS is doing that I wish 40k would pick up. I mean, the biggest thing is still let damage roll over. Reduce the survivability of units. Let the game go faster by people having to just take models off. They've taken a step in that direction with the Storm Changes shield. Or the Storm Shield changes. Whatever the fuck I just said. But more. Make it where damage just splashes and kills everybody. Oh, but then certain weapons will just get spammed. Well, you just hike the price on those weapons. That solves that problem. Then if they spam them, they better hope they don't get in turn shot by those same weapons and don't have a bunch of dudes in front to die for them. I think the real problem is that Space Marines would fucking die. Storm Fiends in some models have that thing. It works with an allocation of wounds and removing models from the front, even if it's a little wonky. Yeah, it is wonky, 100%. I agree, and I've because like 40k back in like 5th edition, it was shooting died from the closest, and that was ranged AOE, or sorry, circular bases. It wasn't as tedious as it would be in the rank and flanks. Like even just when a character died in a challenge in Warhammer Fantasy, having to pick that little bastard out of the crowd, it was annoying. Your bases would you'd have to slide the trays back. You messed up the placement of the units, and then like the guy was hanging on to that guy by his cape, and you know what I mean. Oh yeah, this looks good. Most people complain how lethal 40k is now. Make it more lethal. Don't let anyone live. That's because too many people care too much about their models. Let them die. Do I do painting streams on a regular schedule? This is great. Kind of getting there. We're getting there. Gonna try and do it every weekend. My new job here, my new position, has me off every Sunday. So we'll see. I'll try and do them every Sunday kind of thing. But I have a regular schedule overall now, which is a lot nicer. And so I'm looking forward to that. Definitely do not make wounds flow across models. This is one of the things I hate most about Age of Sigmar. It then becomes Monster Hammer and infantry become worthless. Oh, you are You are mistaken, good sir. Infantry in Age of Sigmar definitely have value, but it makes monsters also have value. But more than either of those things, it makes it so that many models go out and everybody starts losing models. And I love it. I like it when models are off just fighting and dying. Circon flexes raises the point about monsters in Age of Sigmar not being able to hold objectives very well against infantry hordes. Age of Sigmar also has a lot of different mechanics for how models die. I guess it's not. I guess it's different now. It wasn't different before, but it's something. Yeah, this guy's pretty sweet. I'll show you guys soon. I gotta touch up a few shell bits, and then we're gonna paint his scythes, which are gonna be Wraithbone white, wherever the fuck it is. Nope. Nope. Oh, maybe. No, there it is. I'll get that guy out here. I think ogres actually fucked that up a little bit with them being worth 2, but I get it as a mechanics choice. I just wish that they'd spread that rule around to the other monstrous infantry that exist in the other factions. Like if you're on a 50 mil, you count as 2 models. But because bases aren't super consistent in Age of Sigmar, I can understand why they don't want to go like a base regulating route. But I feel that like trolls, minotaurs, chaos spawn, like everything that's the larger infantry, right? They should count as multiple models on an objective in the same way that ogres do. Not to mention the Age of Sigmar team doesn't know how to handle monsters. 80 to 90% of the unit data sheets of big monsters is bad. So to counter that argument though, or that point, an interesting thing is that because of the way damage splashes over, it does make it incredibly difficult for them. Because they have to try and walk the line of how to balance a monster, because if they go too far, it'll just obliterate everything it touches. Because it'll be as effective against every infantry unit as it will be against every other monster unit. So you have to try and figure out where is it that this monster can function in without just killing everything everywhere all the time. So a lot of them are priced higher than you might otherwise expect based on the number of wounds / damage output, as opposed to a single wound model who otherwise would do X amount of damage. Just as something to keep in mind when you're thinking about why the monsters are the way they are. There's an argument to why you wouldn't do it that way, or why you'd see a limit in that regard. Because otherwise you're going to run into some problems. But anyway, talking about Warhammer 40k and splash damage, I do think if it is a war game, like an army game, where an army of guys fights an army of guys, which I think the jury's still out on whether or not that's actually what the game is, and not just like a large skirmish game, then I think it should be easier to kill units, not harder. If you want to have a Custodes faction that's incredibly durable, make it that faction. Don't make rules that make it that faction's ability. Like, because you could go that direction as well and say damage splashes over. Custodes have a special rule that doesn't splash damage. Like, they touched on it briefly in Dark Angels, where they came up with the mace that splashes damage over. Like, the rule exists currently in 40k. They just didn't do it. Yeah, to be fair, it's not actually usually the turtle that kills me in those games with Ash. It's Eidolon, the character who's running along beside the turtle. I just usually get distraction card effects by the turtle because I think it's going to do more than it does. And so I end up wasting my time dealing with it when I just need to kill the Eidolon and then I win. There we go. How are we going to paint your crotch there, little guy? I like when I play against people who spam eels with my goblins. I've actually not lost in a tournament setting against Idoneth, but I don't think Idoneth are particularly high quality army. In a like competitive sense, because they heavily crutch on the turn 3 rush and having really good non-rend saves. But if you don't have good shots and you just use weight of shots or weight of models, you can get around it. And then if like their Alpha Strike just doesn't do the damage to reduce your damage output that turn, like the Goblin's ability to activate kill spears on their basic dudes just fucking wrecks those reavers or whatever they're called, the Marty, I forget, the eels, whatever they are. Your elbow, missed that spot. Alorker's slow go for Nurgle's Plague was heavy infantry. Heavy infantry seems like a really solid one. Do you ever think there's going to be a TV series or a movie from Games Workshop? Excuse me. There has been a movie from Games Workshop. How dare you forget? The fucking Ultramarines movie. It was amazing. Don't you remember? Go back and watch it. It's got solid 1999 CG. It's like watching it's like watching bad Jurassic Park. What has happened where the random people on YouTube making fan videos are making higher quality content than professionally made animation studios? Wild. I mean, part of it is they're doing it for free. So, passion project for free is always going to be to higher quality than corporate project for money. Nah, you're not going to work, brush. Let's use this little guy. Just getting into Infinity, going Combined Army, but not super fussed on the Monkey Boys. Will list work without them? I've got a bit of Shazvasti and some Umbras. So the Monkey Boys are actually the weak point of the Combined Army. That's the big secret. If you have a guy who plays Combined Army in your meta, and plays the Morats, good on him. He's a brave son of a bitch, because the Morats are they are the weakest link out of the trifecta of the Combined Army. Ultra doesn't count because it was super trash. Hey. The question was, are they going to make a movie? They did. You just didn't like it. The best movie is Astartes. The best movie is Astartes. That is a fact. I think it's kind of ruined me on Games Workshop or like Warhammer fan stuff in general, because everything has to compete against Astartes, and it's just not fair. Because it's just so well done. It's also made me really realize how much I prefer any games or any Warhammer like media thing that doesn't have talking in it. I just hate when they talk. I hate when the Space Marines talk, because it always sounds bad. Like, go over Astartes and then slice in the audio from Dawn of War and Dawn of War 2, and just have them fucking screaming and shouting in all of those scenes, and see how much that will detract from the overall experience. Fuck, I should do that. No, I don't want to ruin it. It's too good. You shouldn't do that. I take it back. No one do that. Wrapping this guy up. I'll take a picture / show you guys in the feed right here, and then we're gonna call it for tonight. We'll come back again next week on Sunday, but we'll let you see what this looks like when we're closer to the kind of scheme that we're going for. There's a few steps that I want to add. I want to hit him with a semi-gloss so he shines, and I need to dry brush the red part of him with either a lighter red or an or. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. We'll do that part 2, and then we'll call it for today. Let's flip over our little napkin here. What color do we use? I don't want to go too far with the orange. I wish I had a nicer red. Which one are you? Evil Sons. That'll work. Get some of that Evil Sons Scarlet. Get nice soft brush. I was only asking because Warcraft made a movie. I'm wondering what you can see from movies. All movies are bad. Looking forward to Exodite. We'll have to see. Go watch Mutant Chronicles. Just stopping by to say hello. Do you think the human armies will get buffed with the Ultra Smurfs? I mean, maybe. Got any ideas on what you're painting next week? Not yet. We'll have to see. I have a lot of things that I could paint, a lot of things on the to-do list. Stabbing myself on this guy's tusks. Like I said, might be Oathmark, might be some N4 Infinity content. We'll see. I mean, does it matter too much? We're mostly just here hanging out to have a chat. If it's something you don't really care about seeing, then let me know. Leave a comment, as it were, or just say it in the chat, because I'm sitting here reading the chat as we go. Alright, whatever. That'll do for now. I'm going to show you what he looks like. I want to see some rank and flank battle reports. There's nothing in the queue right now. Was thinking about playing some of Song of Ice and Fire. We'll see. Pull it again. No, we're not going to do that. How big is my to-do list? Oh, Jesus. So I've got, for just 40k, I have probably about 150 orc models. Eldar, I've got maybe 70. Imperial Guard, I've got about 100. Actually, no, now that I'm going through it again, it's probably about 300. The Tyranid list has 225. The Oathmark army is 80, 90 for the starting list to get into the game. Goblins, probably 70 still goblins to paint as we move through what I can just see here looking in front of me. A Song of Ice and Fire, I have 20, 48, probably about 60-ish between Baratheons and Wildlings, and then probably about 24 for Lannisters. I've got my Goblin Caradron Overlords that I need to finish up. There's about 12 or 13 models in there, plus the basing for everyone, because I never decided how I wanted to base them. I've got some Titanicus models that need to get done. I've got like probably 100 Infinity models from all kinds of factions that need to get worked on. Maybe 20 or so that are strictly Combined and Shazvasti that are on the to-do list. A whole Mod Podge of skirmish game type models. You're looking at the non-aligned kind of things. You're looking at Reaper, you're looking at Relic Blade, you're looking at Frostgrave, you're looking at This Is Not a Test, you're looking at all of those. Yeah, so like 900-ish to do. I'm just looking around this room right now. And then, I mean, if you wanted to, we could get into the War Machine, Wrath of Kings, Kings of War. Oh yeah, I forgot there's that Kings of War demon army I have. Oh, and my Chaos. There's another like 15, 20 models in my Chaos 40k army that I haven't done anything with in quite some time. Yeah, so I don't know, a lot. Anyway, let's show you this dude. So here is our paint scheme. Let me see if I can adjust Mr. Camera. Input. I want to change the focus. And this is what they're gonna look like. I'm gonna hit them on the base with the Martian texture paint, and then we'll wash it with probably a Nuln oil or one of the other dark ones to darken it up, and then hit it with like an orange dry brush. So they're gonna be really bright on the field. Might go to gray instead of red because I ended up with red as the main torso body color. But yeah, that's the start of the Tyranids. He's basically done. I don't think I'll go back to him other than to hit him with the wash. All I have to do is teeth. That'll take a second. Or not the wash, the semi-gloss. And yeah, that's what I'm shooting for. That's the kind of quality that I'd like. And that's what these little guys will get too. Maybe I'll do their weapons blue, because I didn't do his little gun. And that way they'll just kind of pop a little bit more. And yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate everyone who stuck around for this relatively long stream. We'll try and do these each Sunday. See what I can get through. It might be more Tyranids, I'll be honest. I wanted to take a break, but I'm looking at this and I'm really liking how this went, and I want to get more done. I'll probably work on it a bit throughout the week on my time outside of work. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I will see you next week. We'll do some more hangouts and painting. There should be a couple battle reports on the way. One 40k and at least one Frostgrave that aren't too far out. So stay tuned for that. And that's where we're at. See you later, guys.